This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president and CEO of Ethos Gold, Mr. Craig Roberts. Craig, how are you today?
I'm great, thanks, Gerardo. Really well. How are you doing?
I am excellent. It's good to catch up. It's been a little bit over a month and a half the last time we spoke. The last time you and I had a conversation, I hinted to the fact, and you mentioned that the company had a healthy cash position that it was looking to deploy by bringing in accretive, attractive projects with the potential for large-scale discoveries. You've obviously been busy. The stock took a bit of a hit the last month on a lack of news, but things are all of a sudden picking up quickly. Stock is up 40% today on news that Ethos will be drilling a Carlin-style gold target at Iron Point, Nevada, with a 50% earn-in with Victory Metals. And you also added a pretty big name as a technical consultant on the project, Mr. Quentin Henning, who will be running that drill program. So I want to start there, and then we can talk about BC and Mexico. But obviously the news that you'll be drilling this Carlin-style gold target has been very well received by the market. So congratulations on that deal. Can you provide some details, Craig?
Yeah, happy to, Gerardo, and thanks. Yeah, no, we are very excited by that project. So a little bit of history. The Iron Point is actually at the intersection of the Getchell Trend and the Battle Mountain Trend in Nevada. It's about 20 miles east of Winnemucca. It's a project area that's been recognized historically and had a lot of work done and actually historically exploring for gold. There's a very large sort of indicator geochemistry footprint there. There's gold been found in quite anomalous amounts on surface in trenches. And historically, it's been drilled by a number of the major companies. It's been drilled by Newcrest, by Ore Resources, Newmont, Santa Fe. And so there's a lot of work that's been done. And Quentin Hennig, who you mentioned has now joined us as a technical advisor, was actually involved in a number of those programs. He drilled it for Newcrest and for Ore Resources, for example, historically. One of the big breakthroughs was Quentin's done some fossil analysis of what's called the Kumos Formation there. And it was always mapped as upper plate Ordovician age stratigraphy. And the work that Quentin did showed definitively that it's actually Devonian and therefore sort of Roberts Mountain, Popovich lower plate stratigraphy. And while that may be a bit technical, it's extremely significant in terms of the prospectivity for gold and a very important fact that's resulted in the reinterpretation of the area. And so based on that, based on the surface, historic surface exploration that I mentioned, and then also based on a number of intercepts that have been through historic drilling, Quentin's come up with a model for Iron Point, which is actually very similar to the model at the Newmont's Twin Creeks mine, which is about 25 miles north of Iron Point. And it's basically lower plate rocks that are folded into sort of a Z folding up against range front fold. So I won't try and get into, there's actually a section in our news release that shows that. But so all of that historic work, Quentin's sort of involvement and expertise in the reinterpretation has led to the definition of this new target. Based on all of that, we've got 3 vertical holes planned that will be drilled to between 500 and 800 meters of depth. And those holes will drill through the upper plate into the prospective lower plate rock near the range front. And, we'll see, obviously we're very optimistic that we'll find something. So we'll drill those holes and hopefully we do find a Carlin-style deposit down there. Obviously, no guarantees, but we think it's a pretty exciting shot at a discovery.
Excellent. So it's just to be clear, Ethos can earn up to 50% undivided interest in the gold and the silver rights, correct? By spending $5 million over 3 years, although the initial expenditure will be $1 million Canadian in the first year. And I'm assuming that that's obviously going into this drill program. So just breaking it down to the most simple denominator here, you're going to spend about $1 million or so Canadian to figure out if you got one of these large Carlin style deposits at depth. Is that accurate?
That's exactly right. So that's sort of the budget for the first 3 holes I mentioned. And really, that will let us know, that'll really answer the question as to whether this target is actually a big gold deposit down there.
Now, you mentioned the historic work that's been done by Quinton, and I understand that there's been pretty significant gold mineralization that has showed up in surface trenches, and that's interpreted to be leakage from deeper levels, which kind of speaks to the reason why you're doing these 500 to 800 meter holes, right?
Yeah, it's certainly a significant part of the picture. There's a number of elements in very high concentrations, actually, that are typically distal from this kind of deposit at surface. And then there is gold in trenches as well. Some of the historic drilling has intercepted quite long intervals of actually quite significant gold mineralization, not economic grades, but nonetheless quite significant. The other thing is one of the historic holes intersected actual Carlin-style gold mineralization in the rangefront fault, and it was interpreted to be gouge material, which is kind of like ground-up material in the fault that was also interpreted to be kind of moved up from a deeper level. So, Carlin-style mineralization has actually been intercepted to some extent in some of this historic drilling. So it's putting all of these pieces of evidence together, if you like, that has led to the definition of this target.
Excellent. And I understand Quinton is running that program, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, absolutely. He's actually already located the 3 holes. Victory Metals has a vanadium project there that they have a current drill program on, and so we're actually fully permitted already to drill. And we haven't quite yet finalized our plans for drilling, but without giving a particular time frame, I'd say that it's possible we could be drilling in actually quite a short time frame, drilling these deep holes. So it's not going to be a long period waiting for permitting and et cetera. I think we'll have an announcement on that soon, but we have the opportunity to drill fairly quickly there.
Wonderful. So drill program upcoming in Nevada. The last time we spoke, we talked about the surface trenching in Mexico. I understand that's progressing slowly but surely. And I understand that once you compile all the data, you'll be following that up with a targeted drill program there. Is that correct, Craig?
That is correct. Yeah, we're just in the process of finally compiling all the trench information. We've had our initial discussions with the driller. He's actually able to mobilize very quickly. But, we're going to do all of our homework on the trench work first and hope to have that information out to the market fairly soon.
Fantastic. Last but not least, you also optioned the Perk Rocky Copper Gold Porphyry project in BC. This is an earlier stage project, but it is a big one. Can we talk about the potential here and kind of what the approach is going to be? Because I know it's a project that historically has garnered a lot of interest from mid-tiers and majors, frankly.
Yeah, it is about 220 kilometers to the west of Williams Lake, south central BC. It is in terrain that's it's sort of in the Golden Triangle area, an area that's prospective for these type of copper gold porphyry deposits. On the property, there's a very large hydrothermal footprint. There's various types of mineralization there, including copper gold at surface. the Aster sort of, I believe it's satellite Aster imaging has shown sort of glossiness and alteration areas that you would anticipate for this type of big porphyry system, higher levels of that type of system. It is early days, as you said. It's early stage. The footprint that we see is very big. The initial phase of work will be detailed airborne geophysics, and also at the same time we'll be doing sampling and mapping on the ground. So that'll be the first phase of work. As you say, we do know that there's been some pretty strong interest from some larger companies in the project. So we'll move it through the first phase of work and then make a decision after that phase as to our next phase of work on the project.
And I understand the plan is to use about 350,000 Canadian for extensive geophysics and ground mapping and sampling. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. Exactly.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, Craig, what was a very quiet story for a couple of months, all of a sudden is a very, very busy story. So congratulations on keeping busy behind the scenes, and fingers crossed that out of the multiple drill programs that you plan on executing this summer, that we find some gold, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're excited, and I think we certainly went into a little bit of a news vacuum there after we had the vanadium project, which was put into a moratorium area, so we had to kind of regroup and spend some time pursuing some of these other opportunities. But we're very excited, and I think there's going to be actually a very strong news flow going forward here.
And to be clear, all of these exploration and drill programs are fully funded by the Treasury, correct?
Yeah, we currently have about 6.8 million, or if I've done the math correctly, about 12 cents per share in cash still. And we're way more. We'll have significant amounts of cash, even if following the completion of everything we have planned. It'll only use up a small portion of our cash, actually.
I got to believe that in this tough resource market, it's got to feel good to have that kind of cash position, which enables you to execute these kinds of deals. Are you still looking if you find the right asset?
Yeah, we definitely are very selectively looking at other opportunities and ones that will be complementary to what we already have. There's no question that it's an extremely tough environment right now for companies to raise money. So it definitely puts us in a strong position to, for other opportunities. And as I say, we'll be very selective, but we're looking to be, capitalize on the money we have and really try and generate shareholder value.
Well, it's a tough market, but I got to say I'm a happy shareholder, and I can't wait for drill results here as the programs start and come and go, frankly.
That's great, Joe. And great to have you on board, too.
Thank you, Craig.
Okay, great. Thank you.